The morning after my wife's funeral, my daughter handed me a brass key and said, "This opens nothing, Dad." Mom was confused at the end. "Just throw it away." I didn't throw it away. I took it to a locksmith on Vine Street who turned it over twice and said, "Sir, this is a safe deposit box key, and it's not from any bank I've seen in 30 years. You need to find out where your wife kept this." That's when I discovered what my daughter had been hiding and why my wife had stopped speaking to her own child 6 months before she died. Hello everyone who made it here. Before I tell you what I found inside that safe deposit box, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? And let me ask you something honest. Do you believe your children would ever lie to you about money? That little brass key unlocked $2.7 million in secrets and a decade of betrayal I never saw coming. Note this story includes fictionalized elements for educational purposes, but the warning it carries is absolutely real. My daughter took that key off my wife's nightstand 4 hours after we buried her and tried to make it disappear. I almost let her. The funeral had been quiet. Maybe 30 people at Wrestling Memorial Park in North Dallas, including Father Dominic and 2 groundskeepers who stood near the oak trees waiting for us to leave. Margaret had outlived most of her close friends. The ones still around were too old or too sick to drive across the city in August heat. My daughter, Karen, stood next to me the whole time, dry-eyed, scrolling through her phone during the prayers. I told myself, everyone grieves differently. I'm 68 years old, retired electrical engineer, 37 years at Texas Instruments before they offered me a package I couldn't refuse. Margaret was 65 when she died. Ovarian cancer, stage 3, diagnosed 11 months before the end. Doctors at UT Southwestern recommended an aggressive combination surgery, chemotherapy, immunotherapy. Margaret said no. She said she was tired, that she'd had a full life. At the time, I believed her. We'd been married 43 years. Met at a church potluck in Richardson when I was 24 and she was 21. She was studying to become a speech therapist. Spent the next 38 years helping children learn to speak, to communicate, to be heard. She was the gentlest person I ever knew. I thought I understood every corner of her heart. I was wrong about that. Karen is 41, lives out in Frisco with her husband Derek, and their 9-year-old son Noah. Karen's job title changed every time I asked. Financial planning, then wealth management consulting, then something vague about insurance brokerage. Margaret used to joke that Karen switched careers like channels on a television. She'd visited her mother twice during the last year of her life, twice in 12 months. Each visit lasted less than 45 minutes. We were back at the house on Greenville Avenue, the house Margaret and I bought in 1986, sorting through her things. Karen was going through the bedroom nightstand when she found the key. Small, brass, no label, tucked inside an envelope behind Margaret's reading glasses and a bottle of aspirin. I watched Karen's face when she saw it. Something crossed her expression recognition, maybe fear, before she smoothed it out into that blank look she always wore when she was calculating. "What is it?" I asked. "Nothing. Just an old key. Probably goes to a jewelry box we threw out years ago." She was already walking toward the kitchen trash can. "Karen, let me see it." "Dad, it's junk. Mom kept everything. You know how she was." The key hit the bottom of the trash can. I heard it clink against a soup can from lunch. 20 minutes later, her phone buzzed. She stepped into the hallway, voice dropping to a whisper. When she came back, she already had her purse over her shoulder. "Derek needs me home. Noah has soccer tryouts tomorrow morning. I need to get his gear ready." It was Saturday afternoon. Soccer tryouts weren't until Monday. "You're leaving?" "We haven't even started on the closet. I'll come back next weekend. Promise." She was already at the door. "Just don't get rid of anything valuable without checking with me first, okay?" Mom might have had some jewelry or antiques worth something. Then she was gone. I heard her SUV start in the driveway, the engine fading down Greenville Avenue until there was nothing left but the ceiling fan clicking overhead and the silence of a house that no longer had Margaret in it. I sat in that silence for hours. The evening light moved across the living room floor, turning gold, then amber, then nothing. Something about Karen's reaction bothered me. The speed, the certainty, that flash of recognition when the key fell out of the envelope. I'd seen that look before when she was 15, and I caught her sneaking cash from Margaret's wallet when she was 23, and Margaret noticed $800 missing from our joint checking. It was a bank error, Karen had said. Her hands hadn't been shaking then, but her eyes had gone flat. The same flat eyes I'd seen today. At 9 that evening, I walked to the kitchen, reached into the trash, and pulled out the key. Wiped it clean on my shirt, brass, heavy for its size, with a number stamped on one side, 4,417, and on the other side, 3 tiny letters I needed my reading glasses to see. FNB, First National Bank, the one on Mockingbird Lane that Margaret had used for decades, the one she'd insisted on keeping even after I suggested switching to Chase for the better interest rate. I like the people there, she'd said. I turned the key over 17 times before I noticed the post-it note still stuck inside the envelope. Margaret's handwriting, small and precise, the same careful script she'd used on 38 years of Christmas cards. Richard Box 4417 at First National, Mockingbird Branch. Ask for Tom Shelton. He knows everything. Don't bring Karen. Don't tell Karen. I love you more than you'll ever understand. Don't bring Karen. Not be careful. Not talk to Karen first. Don't bring her. Don't tell her. My hands went numb. The woman I'd slept beside for 43 years had kept a secret so deep she'd taken it to her grave almost. I was at First National Bank at 8:55 Monday morning, waiting in my truck until I saw the lights come on inside. Tom Shelton was in his late 50s. Former Marine, I could tell from the haircut and the way he stood when I entered his office. He looked at the key, looked at me, and closed the door. "Mr. Patterson," he said, "your wife told me you'd come. I just didn't know when." He pulled the blinds shut, locked the door. My heart was pounding. She opened box 4,417 inches. September 2015, Tom said. Paid 10 years in advance. Cash. Told me if anyone at all tried to access it, I was to deny the request and call her personal cell phone immediately. Did anyone try? Tom turned his computer screen toward me. 3 times. February 2021, February 8th, 14th, and 22nd. Each time, a woman presented power of attorney documents, claiming your wife suffered from advanced dementia and couldn't manage her own affairs. Who? Tom clicked. A name appeared on the screen. Karen Marie Patterson Holt, designated agent. Her signature at the bottom. My daughter. The documents were professionally forged, Tom continued. Notary stamps, legal language, everything looked legitimate. But your wife had warned us. We ran enhanced verification, the signatures didn't match. Pen pressure was too even, consistent with tracing. The notary whose seal appeared on the documents had been dead since 2019. Dead since 2019. Karen had used a dead notary's seal. We denied all 3 attempts and called your wife each time. She thanked me, asked me not to involve police yet, said she was building something bigger. Tom opened the safe deposit box with a second key from the bank's vault. Inside was a manila envelope, thick and heavy. I opened it at Tom's desk. A certificate of deposit $2,700,000, dated the 22nd of September 2015, and beneath it, a smaller envelope addressed to me, and a USB drive labeled Evidence for Detective Ramirez, DPD Financial Crimes. Margaret had spent a decade preparing for this moment. The story unraveled fast after that. Tom explained that Margaret had sold 2 properties I'd forgotten existed, a 4-plex in Mesquite she'd inherited from her aunt in 1994, and a small strip of commercial land near Lake Ray Hubbard she'd bought in 2001 during a tax auction. Both sales were handled quietly through a real estate attorney in McKinney, completely separate from our joint finances. The initial deposit was $1.9 million, with compound interest over 10 years at First National's highest CD rate. The current value sat at $2,718,440. But that wasn't all. Tom pulled up records of our family accounts, the ones Karen had been added to as co-signer. In 2014, the year she moved back to Texas from Colorado, for convenience, she'd told us, in case you need help with bills as you get older. We were 57 and 54. We didn't need help with anything. But Karen had insisted, and we'd been grateful. What parent wouldn't be? The withdrawals started in March 2015. $15,000 here, $28,000 there. Always under the federal reporting threshold. Over 9 years, Karen and Derek had drained $1,640,000 from accounts Margaret had spent a lifetime building. Every withdrawal was made by Karen. ATM advances, wire transfers to accounts in Derek's name, checks written to cash. And Margaret had documented every single one. Your wife came here 5 times between 2018 and 2024, Tom said. Each visit, she'd verify the safe deposit box was secure, update her emergency contacts, and request printed statements of all family accounts. She was tracking everything. I drove straight from the bank to a name on the USB drive. Detective Lucia Ramirez, Dallas Police Department, Financial Crimes Unit. She was waiting for me. Not because Tom had called ahead, because Margaret had contacted her 14 months ago. Your wife walked into my office on June 3rd, 2024, Ramirez told me. She was maybe 45, sharp eyes, no nonsense. Sat down and said, "My daughter has been stealing from me for 9 years, and I'm dying of cancer. I need you to wait until after I'm gone to do anything about it." Ramirez opened a file cabinet and pulled out an accordion folder with Margaret's name on the tab. 9 years of bank statements. Copies of the forged power of attorney documents. Screenshots of text messages between your daughter and her husband, planning withdrawals. A sworn video deposition recorded at her attorney's office. And specific instructions: do not act until after her death. Do not contact her husband until he discovers the key and brings it to Tom Shelton. She predicted I'd find it. She was counting on it. She told me you were the most decent man she'd ever married, that you'd do the right thing even when it broke your heart. I couldn't breathe for a moment. Why didn't she tell me? Ramirez was quiet for a beat. She said if you knew, you'd confront Karen. You'd try to reason with her, try to save the relationship, and Karen would panic, destroy evidence, move money offshore. Your wife said, and these are her exact words, "Richard will sacrifice justice for peace. That's his gift and his weakness." She was right. If Margaret had told me 3 years ago, I would have sat Karen down at the kitchen table and asked her to explain. I would have believed whatever story she gave me because she's my daughter and I loved her, and I couldn't imagine her being capable of this. "There's more," Ramirez said. "We've been monitoring your daughter's finances since your wife filed the complaint. The day after Margaret died, the very next day, Karen transferred $63,000 to a holding company in the Bahamas. Structuring, money laundering, on top of everything else. She let that sink in. One day, Karen had waited 1 day after her mother's funeral before moving stolen money offshore. "Detective," I said, "what do I do now? You let me do my job. I have enough for arrest warrants. Your daughter and her husband are looking at federal charges: elder financial abuse, forgery, wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy." That night, I sat alone in the house on Greenville Avenue and read Margaret's journal. She'd kept it hidden inside the lining of a sewing basket I'd never once opened. 7 years of entries. Starting November 2017. Richard thinks I'm getting forgetful. I heard him call Dr. Webb today, asking about memory clinics. I wanted to scream the truth at him, but I can't. Not yet. If Karen knows I'm aware, she'll destroy everything. So I play confused. I ask the same questions twice. I pretend to forget where I parked. It's the hardest performance of my life. Page after page. Every stolen dollar documented. Every lie recorded. Send. The 12th of March 2019. Karen told Richard she needed $40,000 for Noah's medical bills. Said he had a heart condition requiring specialist treatment. I called Texas Children's Hospital. No record of Noah being treated there. The documents Karen showed us were fabricated. July 2020. Karen convinced the home security company to give her access to our cameras. She told them I had dementia and might wander. Now she watches the house remotely, knows when Richard is gone, knows when I'm alone. I feel like a prisoner in my own home. September 2023. Dr. Webb confirmed today. Stage 3, ovarian cancer. He wants to start treatment immediately, $250,000 minimum. I told him no. Richard will want to use our savings, but our savings are gone. Karen took them. The only money left is the certificate, and if I touch it, there's nothing left to prove what she's done. So I choose this. I choose justice over survival. She chose to die. My wife chose to die because spending the money on treatment would have meant her daughter got away with stealing nearly $2 million. The last entry was dated July 18th, 2025, the morning she died. Richard is making coffee downstairs. I can hear him humming that old Willie Nelson song he loves. I want to go down there and hold him and tell him everything. But if I do, he'll cry, and then he'll forgive Karen, and then it will all have been for nothing. So I'll stay here. I'll let the cancer finish what it started. And I'll trust that Richard will find the key, and the key will unlock the truth, and the truth will do what I couldn't. I love you, Richard. You deserved better than my silence. Finish what I started. I wept until there was nothing left. Then I picked up the phone and called Detective Ramirez. The arrests came on a Thursday morning. I listened through the phone as officers knocked on the door of Karen's house in Frisco, heard Derek shouting about his rights, heard Karen's voice go ice cold. Don't say a word. Call the lawyer. And beneath it all, Noah's small voice asking why the police were there. That sound, my grandson asking a question no child should have to ask, nearly broke me. But then I thought of Margaret dying alone in our bedroom, while Karen was transferring stolen money to the Bahamas, and my spine went straight again. The trial lasted 4 days. The prosecutor played Margaret's video deposition on the second afternoon, and the courtroom went silent. Margaret appeared on screen, thin and pale but sitting upright, eyes clear as lake water. "My name is Margaret Ann Patterson," she said. "I am of sound mind. I have stage 3 ovarian cancer, and I have chosen to refuse treatment. Not because I want to die, but because the money that could save me is the only proof that my daughter has been robbing me for 9 years. She looked directly into the camera. To the jury, my daughter stole $1,640,000 from me. She forged documents. She faked my mental decline. She isolated me from friends. She is guilty. A pause. To my daughter Karen, I would have given you every penny if you'd asked. If you'd come to me with the truth, with remorse, I would have helped you. But you chose to take. You chose to lie. You chose to let me die alone rather than risk exposure. I can't forgive that. Not because I don't love you, but because love without honesty isn't love at all." Her voice softened. "To Richard, my sweet, stubborn, trusting husband, I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I knew you'd try to fix it because that's who you are. You fix things, but some things can't be fixed. They can only be exposed. Use the money to protect others. Take care of Noah. And please, my love, don't spend the rest of your life being angry. Spend it being brave." The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Karen received 8 years federal. Derek got 4. Noah came to live with me. I opened Margaret's final letter on a Sunday evening, 3 days after sentencing. Cream-colored paper. Her handwriting steady, despite the pain she must have been in. "Dearest Richard, if you're reading this, it's over. The trial is done, and you know the truth about everything I kept from you. I imagine you're sitting at the kitchen table right now. I imagine the house is quiet. I imagine you're wondering if you should be angry with me. Here is what I want you to know. I was never confused. I was never lost. Every time I pretended to forget your name, every time I asked what year it was, every time I let Karen believe I was fading, I was watching. I was documenting. I was building the case that would protect you after I was gone. The money and the certificate is yours now. Please do 3 things with it. First, live well. You've earned it. Buy that fishing cabin you've been talking about since 1992. Second, I've asked our attorney, James Whitfield, to set up a foundation in my name to help elderly victims of family financial abuse. He has the paperwork ready. Third, take care of Noah. He's 9 years old, and his world just collapsed. Teach him that honesty matters. Teach him that love means telling the truth even when it's hard. And teach him to play the piano. He has long fingers like mine. He'll be good at it. I love you, Richard. I loved you from the moment you spilled iced tea on my dress at that church potluck in 1982. I loved you through 43 years of ordinary mornings and extraordinary grace. And I love you now, from wherever I am, watching you read this, hoping you understand. Some truths are worth dying to protect. Yours forever, Margaret. Noah's been living with me for 5 months now. We painted his room blue, his choice, and hung a map of the solar system above his bed. He started piano lessons in September. His teacher says he has natural talent. Long fingers, she said, just like his grandmother. The Margaret Patterson Foundation opened its doors on October 1st on a small office on Greenville Avenue, 6 blocks from our house. We help families identify financial abuse early, connect them with detectives and attorneys, provide emergency funds when everything's been stolen. In 3 months, we've assisted 19 families. Tom Shelton volunteers on weekends. Detective Ramirez refers cases to us directly. Karen has written 4 letters from prison. They sit in a drawer, unopened. Someday, when Noah is old enough, I'll let him decide whether to read them. One evening last week, Noah looked up from his homework and asked, "Grandpa, was Grandma Margaret smart?" "The smartest person I ever knew," I said. He thought about that. "Smarter than you?" I laughed. "Much smarter." He went quiet, then said, "I wish she'd taught me piano herself." I pulled Margaret's letter from the drawer where I keep it and held it for a moment. "She wanted to, buddy. She wanted to more than anything." Noah nodded. Then he went back to his homework, and I went back to my book. And the house on Greenville Avenue was quiet in the way that old houses are full of echoes and memories, and the stubborn persistence of love. If you've walked this entire journey with me, thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Now let me be honest with you. Don't be like me. Don't let trust become blindness. I'm 68 years old, and I spent 43 years married to a woman who was braver than I ever deserved. And in her final years, when she needed a partner, I was sleepwalking through our life while she fought a war I didn't even know existed. Here's what I've learned. Blood does not guarantee loyalty. Family does not guarantee honesty. The people closest to you have the easiest access to everything you've built. If you have aging parents, check their bank statements. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Don't assume your siblings or your own children have clean hands just because they share your last name. Financial elder abuse is an epidemic in this country. Margaret's story is one of thousands happening right now in houses that look peaceful from the outside. My wife refused cancer treatment. She died at 65 in the bedroom where we'd slept for 39 years because spending money on chemotherapy would have meant letting our daughter escape justice. That's the weight I carry. That's the truth I live with. And that's why the Margaret Patterson Foundation exists, to make sure no one else has to make that choice. So I'm asking you directly, have you checked on your parents' finances lately? Do you know who has access to their accounts? If you were sitting where I am right now, what would you have done differently? If this story opened your eyes, share it. Someone you know needs this warning today. Subscribe to this channel for more real stories that matter. Because truth doesn't expire, and silence is never safety. I'm grateful you stayed until the end. Drop a comment and tell me, are you the kind of person who checks or the kind who trusts? There's no wrong answer, but there is a dangerous one. One final note. This story blends real patterns of elder financial abuse with creative storytelling elements for educational impact. The characters and specifics are fictionalized, but the warning is urgent, real, and happening in families just like yours right now.